Welcome to the Adams State Podcast. I'm Mike Clifford, sitting in for our usual student host, Abigail Justice. We hope to have her back real soon. But in the meantime, we're talking to the coordinator of the Food Studies program at Adams State and a lecturer there as well, Riley Caldwell. So thanks for talking with us today, Riley.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Glad to do it. Everybody's involved with food in one way or the other, right? But when you say food studies, it seems like there's so much that could encompass. What does it mean?
Yeah, that's a question I often get asked. For me, food studies is super interdisciplinary, and it looks at not just how we're growing our food, but how we're distributing our food. It also looks at like the sociological aspects of food, what food cultures are there, all of these kinds of factors, the people side, but also the agriculture side.
All right. And so what? How does that translate into what you're doing here at Adams State?
So the program is designed to be interdisciplinary. We have 4 different tracks, and one of them is sociology and social justice. One of them is business. One of them is kinesiology and health science, so you can focus on exercise and how the body and food interact. And we also have a climate change sustainability focus as well. And so the point is that you can pair it with other majors and you can pair it with other interests. And all of my classes have a multifaceted component to it where we're touching on both the sociology and also the science behind it.
All right, great. So, and it's not, you already kind of made that clear, but it's not a cooking classes or anything like that.
It is, too.
Great.
One of the classes that I'm teaching this semester is actually a food lab. So we're spending one day out in the garden and farming and working with plants. And the other day we're actually in the kitchen. So we're doing the nutrition and meal planning and food preparation piece as well.
All right. Is there one or two things that you're talking about all these different classes and everything, but one or two things about food and food studies, if you wanted to let people know something, what would it be?
Food studies is what you make it. Ultimately, it's what you want to learn about food. And we tailor the classes towards what students are interested in. And the benefit of having it be so interdisciplinary is we can touch on a lot of different topics.
All right, great. And you mentioned kinesiology. You're officially part of the kinesiology department here
Yes.
at Adams State. Is that, between Adams State and Alamosa in the San Luis Valley, of course, we're in an agricultural area and everything. How has that gone, incorporating that into Adams State and maybe using some of the community resources as well?
It's been really good. I've only been here since August, and so I've managed to make a lot of connections during that time. We went out to a lot of farms in the fall for field trips, and this spring we're going to be working a lot with the Rio Grande Farm Park for the lab class that I'm teaching. And then we've also been working within the university. One of the field trips that we did in the fall was going to see the food bank on campus, as well as going to the Casa House and seeing their hornos and all of those kinds of cultural pieces and community support pieces that are already here at the university. But in the future, we're definitely hoping to incorporate more working with community partners. I made a lot of connections in the fall, so I had a lot of meetings, and I'm hoping to use those going forward.
All right, great. Yeah, there's everything, like you mentioned, the farm park up to, huge industrial type farms in the valley.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, what is it? I know you got a master's from Northern Arizona,
Yes.
right? And what's that? Is it food studies or what's it called?
So I technically got a master's in sustainable communities, but I did all of my work and extracurricular classes on food. And I also was the facilitator for a class where I was working with undergraduates doing research on rural food systems. So I spent a lot of my spare time working with food and taking a lot of extra classes that were food related.
All right. And if this isn't being too personal, can you tell us a little, why are you interested in this field?
I love how interdisciplinary it is. I know I keep touching on it, but that's my favorite part about it. I started as a bio major when I was an undergrad and struggled with chemistry courses, but I really fell in love with how people and the environment are interacting. And so I started taking more sustainability classes, and I ended up loving how food in particular influences so many choices that we make and how we're using the land, and then also kind of how much it impacts people. So when I was doing my master's, we focused on food box recipients. I did interviews with food box recipients in a really poor county in Arizona, and it was just really interesting to kind of see the distribution side of things and how our food choices on a national scale are impacting people very locally.
Yeah. All right. Well, what's one of the things you found out from that, talking to the people that got in the food boxes?
The food box system in the US is ultimately designed to be an emergency system. And so people are getting these food boxes and they've got, off-brand chips in them and they've got sodas and stuff like that. But I met people who'd been using food boxes for 33 years. You cannot use that nutritionally for 33 years. And so it was a big, eye-opening moment for me that these people are really reliant on our choices as a nation, because the food that they're getting is often leftovers from grocery stores, what we're leaving behind. Right. And that's what they have to rely on for decades sometimes. And
it kind of perpetuates the cycle some too. They're probably not in great shape too, so maybe not able to work so much, or the way these things kind of avalanche or tumble.
There were a lot of health issues that I learned about. I couldn't ask specifically about health issues, but a number of them shared it with me. And a lot of the people that I spoke with were retirees who are relying on Social Security, and it's not covering everything. And so they're going to get food boxes. And that's not who we usually think about, but it's what the reality was where I was working.
All right. Well, that is interesting. And an example of that interdisciplinary, it brings in kind of sociology, social work, all kinds of stuff. Well, I'd love to chat with you about this all day, but we don't have all day. But is there anything else that you want to make sure you mention before we finish up, Riley?
Yeah. So my program is really lucky right now. We have had a number of grants come our way, and so we have a lot of scholarship money available to students who are interested. We have money to fund tuition, fees, and potentially housing for up to 4 years at the university, as well as funding for internships. We have 2 internship requirements, and we can fund students for those internships so they get paid while they're getting credit.
So what's the best way if people want to find out more about that, or they want to get in touch with you?
So they can either go to the Food Studies website. So if you just search Adams State Food Studies, it'll pop up. But also my email, rcaldwell@adams.edu, I'm on it all the time. It's attached to my hip. So that's always a good way to get in contact with me.
All right, great. That's Riley Caldwell from the Food Studies program here at Adams State, the coordinator of the program and a lecturer. And this has been the Adams State podcast. As I mentioned earlier, Abigail Justice and our student hosts should be back soon once we're a little further back from break, but thanks for listening. And again, thanks for talking with us, Riley.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.